today the first of 10 interviews. The first one is Mr. Tom Dickie from Oswestry in Shropshire, which is 5 minutes away from our workshop. And obviously, Tom, we'll have a talk today about what inspired you with your racing career and where you are today. So your first race would be?
I'm trying to remember. Brands Hatch, it was 1960.
Okay.
But I was following a friend of mine who worked at Eric Oliver's motorcycle shop. He was a world champion sidecar guy. And through him I got sort of going to help him at Brands, and I bought a bike and I thought, well, I can do that. So Jeff and I used to practice always together, one going a bit quicker than the other, and if you made a mistake he'd come past and go, silly things like that.
Yeah. And what was the make of that bike?
The BSA Gold Star.
Gold Star, okay, yeah, famous Gold Star. So obviously the Gold Star, did you have any, I think in them days, was it Dow made some special bits for it? Like Dow yokes and front hub?
Tank.
Okay.
And the front, the yokes were Taylor Dow.
Taylor Dow, yeah.
I think I've got a picture somewhere as it finished the season. It looked like everything that could fall off it had fallen off.
Really?
It was like a heap.
Okay.
And for the following year I bought the 7R.
Okay.
And went to Thruxton for the first meeting in '61 Easter. I was going quicker and quicker, and a friend of mine who used to help us, who actually worked at Eric Oliver's, was trying to slow me down on this corner. And anyway, I won the newcomers heat and final, which is a big thing in those days.
Yeah.
And then came to the final with all the experts, like Tony Godfrey, Paddy Driver.
Wow.
And all the old boys, because I'm flying past them like a 2-year-old, and the braking is difficult at Thruxton because it's flat, and there's a Castrol can, and I was braking on that, and that was just about as far as you could push it. Then on the lap of the big crash, I have to say that the Castrol tin had disappeared.
Someone moved it.
My mum and dad were close watching, and he shouted out, well, look at him, he's flying through the air. And I hit the ground, and the ambulance people put me in the ambulance and said, you've had your foot, because it was facing downwards.
Yeah.
I said, no, I can feel my feet, my toes. He said, no, you think you can. He said, it's backwards, it's off effectively. So when I went to the hospital, I went down to theatre, I was so happy when I got to 7 on the countdown. I was out of pain then, and asleep. I woke up on my own, I run my right leg down to the left leg to see if I had a foot left. And I did, and I was sort of quite happy about that. And then there's nobody in the ward, just left to look after yourself, I think. And there was like a thing you hold on to pull yourself up. I pulled myself up and it swung me out of bed, so it was another crash on the day.
So obviously that was your first big injury.
Yeah, I didn't have too many big ones. Enough.
Yeah. After Thruxton, you then went to 62 season.
Yeah.
So what would you be riding in 62?
7R, same.
Same 7R.
Yeah.
And did you go 350, 500? This is sort of a lot of races.
Not straight away. You could only afford one bike.
Okay.
So we stuck with a 350. Could ride in some 500 races.
Yeah. Was there any tuning done to the bike?
No, it's just learn on your own, and they're all dead standard.
Yeah.
So it's quite good. When in 1964 I got the chance to ride a 500, which I'd not ridden before, with Jeff Monty.
Okay.
It was a real big help, and he gave me some special brakes for the Manx Grand Prix. We found out later they were banned by all the works teams for ripping the swinging arms out.
Right.
So first time at the TT, or the Manx I should say, on this G50, which is quite quick, got down to Bridge, put the brakes on, and you can't believe the noise that it was making. So I did 2 3/4 laps without touching any of the brakes.
Wow.
Just rolled it off, changed down, and
Yeah.
it was quite a good way of learning. And then going quickly into Parliament Square on the 3rd lap, I can remember it like it's tomorrow, and I just thought I'd just touch the brakes and steady it. Anyway, ripped the torque arm out of the back brake.
Oh.
That then swung round and broke the swinging arm into half. And I went flying again over the top of this wall, which had spikes on it.
Oh.
And I landed on my head, which is probably not a bad thing to land on. And that was it, you know, conscious, walked to the ambulance, and I was out the next night practicing.
Right, okay.
Without the brake liners.
Without the old green ones, were they?
They were the green ones, yeah.
Which was, they were just unbelievable, snatch everything, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, 64 was the first time you went to the island, obviously to do the Manx, to do your apprenticeship before you went to the TT. Obviously Jeff Monty was involved as a tuner with you from 64, and obviously that must have been, because you mentioned that name now, Jeff Monty, and you know what a fantastic tuner Jeff was.
Absolutely, yeah. The following year I rode Ray Cowsey's G50.
Yeah, famous Ray. There's another tuner that you know, in my opinion, what Ray did for racing.
Oh, awesome.
You know, I think it's, am I right in saying 71 or 72, he had the top 3 at the Manx.
Yeah.
He had the Manufacturers Award, he had Best Newcomer and a first as well, which was never done again at the Manx. But Raymond was he had an eye for scouting as well, for scouting riders.
Well, initially he would only put you on board if you were Welsh.
Okay.
And I was Welsh.
Yeah.
And I spoke with a Welsh accent when he was around to make sure he didn't cut me out the wheel.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But Raymond was a nice guy. He's he's, you know, the people that he sponsored over the years and has ridden for him, and success as well. Obviously, the next year's in 65, you went back to the Manx.
Yeah.
You didn't go to the TT.
Now then, 66 is the following year, when it was when the strike, the steam package strike was on.
Yep.
So I worked with my mechanic Malcolm down in Pontypool building the bikes for the Manx. And then Selwyn, I think he crashed at the Ulster, so he didn't need all his stuff, so we borrowed a bit and this, that and the other. Then we went to take Ray to Liverpool. He said, you know, drop us off at Liverpool. You know, I lived in London. So we got to Liverpool, and he said, why don't you come over now? I said, well, we've been away 2 weeks. There's clothing I wore 2 weeks ago, I'm still wearing them. And he said, well, don't worry about it, you can always get some clothing off somebody. So we got on the ferry, and took us over a week early, so it was quite good. So we had more time to work on the bike that I was going to race.
Yep.
And you know, once that TT had finished, it was straight into the Manx then, and I was doing quite good in practice. And then in the race, the junior race, I finished 3rd, and I think it was probably one of the first with a 4-speed box, because everybody's switching to 5 then.
Yeah.
The pleasing ride.
Yeah.
And then the senior, a few days later, was very difficult because the weather was horrendous. The wind, just waiting on the start line, was almost blowing you off.
Wow.
And the riding number is 108, which is a long way down from the number 1 on the grid. And then you had to turn the engines off, and it's probably well over half an hour before we went to the start. He was moving up and up and up and up, and finally got to the front. The guy tapped you on the shoulder. I sprinted off, bumped it, and it just didn't start. Just going bump, 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 and messing around. Yeah. So I jumped off the side of it again and was running. And I got past the top of Bray Hill, still pushing and running.
Really?
It was unbelievable. And then he got down to Quarterbridge, still not going. And I got to Braddon, went left in Braddon, was misfiring badly, and then turned to right. It's the first proper right-hander, and it enriched the mixture. But then it fired up that quick, and the back come round. I was like, thought, oh, I'm off. I managed to hold it, and then set about park, because I was totally last on the road. And there's one place I got to, Kirkmichael, and there's a group of 10 all queuing up, and the guy in the front won the Manx the following year. Now I managed to get past all 10.
Wow.
One sweep, and because you know everybody quite closely, you give them all like little waves, which is all part of it. And then I don't remember the pit stop. I must have had it, so you just run out of fuel, and then just carried on and just got a sign saying you're in the lead on the last lap. It was the end of the last lap. So that was it. Happy days. Happy days.
Won the Manx.
Yeah, knock it. Something you'd never expect to do, especially from that start.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, fantastic times, and obviously just jumping from that to this year was 50 years of winning the Manx Grand Prix.
Since, yeah.
And there you were at the Manx this year with a flag.
And my old mechanic.
And your old mechanic. That must have been a bit heart-wrenching, really.
Yeah, don't start me off. As I've got older, I've got a lot more emotional.
Yeah, but it's like 50 years, Tom, and you're on
big day.
Big day. And then obviously then 66, you then you go to the TT.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's your first year of the TT.
Which was 67.
67. Okay.
And that's quite good. I think I finished 7th in the senior race.
Okay. Riding.
Ray Cowles' G50.
G50 again. Okay.
Yeah, we were going to ride a this people down in the West Country made them Rickman.
Yeah.
We was going to ride a Rickman Matisse, but we tried it in practice, and Selwyn jumped out in the road, told me to get off it because it was shaking his head that bad. It was awful. Yeah. So we had to go back to the old favourite.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was quite good.
Okay. So then you went 68.
Yeah.
TT again.
Then I'd teamed up with Ray Petty.
Okay.
So I had his bikes then.
Another famous tuner.
Yeah, and we got on really well, and it's it taught me quite a lot about Nortons, because I was riding a Manx Norton then. And it's just quite strange on the start line. The guy does all the chains, Vic Doyle, said don't forget your chain oiler. In those days you had to put the chain oiler on.
Yeah.
But Ray had put the tap on back to front. On was off and off was on. So mine was on, and I actually turned it off. He did 5 laps with no oil on the chain before he jumped off. So it's a bit of a shame, but it's just one of those things that a split second of somebody saying something and you go, oh, that was it. Shame. So then 69, I was looking for a ride, and phoned up for a number we had in the motorcycle news to Vince Davey.
Yeah.
And I went in at a bath, which is fairly unusual in those days, and some smart clothes, and got a lift into London to see this guy, and within a couple of minutes of talking to him, he said, "You got the ride."
Wow.
So that was when we finished third in the senior TT,
yeah.
which was good.
Yeah.
It was good getting involved with him as well, proper guy.
Yeah. So that was in 69.
69.
69.
Yeah.
You were third to number one was
Agostini.
Agostini. Yeah.
Yeah. Forget, his name will come to me in a minute. Don't worry, Captain Mandarin.
So, what was it like going against Agostini?
Sorry, Alan Barnett
was second.
Second.
Okay. So what was it like going against Agostini?
Well, you had no chance,
Okay.
basically. Mike Hayward was riding in the same race, and I think he won 67, and then the chain broke on Agos, wasn't it? And I was going along in top gear on my G50, and Mike passed me and changed 3 more gears going upwards.
Yeah.
On the Honda. He got no chance.
Yeah.
Well, that, short circuit is a bit different.
Yeah, but to come third against such an
Oh,
icon
yeah,
like Agostini, that's it's not
It's more than you can really dream of.
true. And in 1970, you then obviously went back to the TT again.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, every year you're doing the Ulster Grand Prix. You're doing.
No, I didn't do the Ulster.
Okay.
I didn't do it then. I did it in 69.
Mhm.
16. That's it. We came back from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
And then I had a big off.
That's it. Yeah.
I think it was the last big off as well, which is handy. I didn't like them too much.
No, that was quite a big off for your career.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at it now as following a guy, an Irish guy who's a really good rider, but he hadn't raced for a little while, and I thought he might teach me a bit more about the circuit, and for some reason or other he braked really hard halfway around his flat out corner. I touched my brakes and it went down, and then I was alternating between not being on my back and on my front to dissipate the heat. And then I looked up and I saw this telegraph pole with my name on it. I thought, oh dear, here we go. So I whacked it one, and Chas Mortimer stopped to see if he could be of any help, and he shouted out, "Tom, are you alright?" I said, "No, I'm alright, Chas, but I can't see, I'm blind. He said, "You silly bugger, your goggles are filled with blood."
Yeah.
But I'd broke my back and my arm, and it was not good.
And obviously you recovered from that.
Well, less than a year later, we won the Bowl d'Or, 24-hour racing.
Yeah, with Paul Smart.
With Paul Smart, yeah. It was then Percy Tate wanted the engine that I had at the TT, and they put it into his frame because mine was faster down the speed trap.
Okay.
And then they must have left something loose, and there was oil coming out of it. And Percy came and said, "Here, it's bloody slippery as that, Sam." And that's how it's got his name.
Right.
It's the oil that was coming in.
Yeah.
After that, it was quicker than the other engines.
Yeah. And you were the first one that obviously rode Slippery Sam.
Yeah.
And that was quite a, from what I gather, you weren't supposed to ride it the TT, but...
Yeah, Rodney Gould was destined to ride it, but his Yamaha contract wouldn't really allow it.
Okay.
And so I got to do, I think, 1 practice lap, 2 practice laps, something like that. And then again at the start line, I run across the track. There's a Le Mans start, and the bike had been left in first gear. Was it first or second? Hang on. Yeah, left in first, and because I couldn't start it, you have to get in neutral. Well, the mechanic who was involved thought I'd put it into first or into second, so he's trying to pull it out of there, and I'd have kicked him out of the way in the end, but got neutral and headed off. on my usual last again.
Yeah.
We came through, fortunate enough to finish 4th.
Yeah, which was good.
Yeah, in the production race.
Yeah. Which inspired you the most? Which circuit?
I liked them all. I think the one at Assen was tremendous.
Okay.
You know, the first proper continental race meeting.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I'd been to Mete a lot earlier, and that was like a big street race.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And again, it was quite a sad day. The race started, and John Hartman was making a comeback.
Okay.
And I think I was second. Hartman was third. John Blanchard was in the lead. And then there was a big crash, and several people sadly were killed, the spectators. And the only thing I'd realised something was happening was an ambulance just drove out of the pits, flat out, and managed to miss it, and then you had to slow right down. There's total mayhem, the people lying on the ground, bits, and oh dear. It wouldn't have happened, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because there's no red flags in those days.
Yeah.
And John Blanchard looked round and he sort of said in some language or other which we could both understand, we slow down here and then we start the race 200 yards further along, which is what we did.
Right.
So I ended up finishing second, I think.
Okay.
And John Harton was quite handy because we didn't have any money to get home. And he came to the organisers with us and they got him to give me more money, which is handy.
Of course, that was it, them days where you would sort of get a sort of start money, and that was very common around Europe, really.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, if we sort of jump from then to now, where, you know, the younger generation, they'll just race for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you look at BSB. I mean,
it's another world now, isn't it?
Just another world. So when did you retire from racing, Tom?
I'm making a comeback. Didn't they tell you?
No.
Oh, no. No, I'm only joking, no. 75.
75.
Yeah. And we did a race after in Barcelona, 24-hour race.
Yep.
With Darryl Pendlebury.
That's
Who
it.
was a nice bloke. Really, you don't see much of him, but he's a nice geezer. During the race, there was Dave Potter and forget the other rider, but that'll come back to me, arguing that they weren't getting paid enough. And Darryl said you should have made all your arrangements before you went out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very pleasant, but on the last session Darryl went out, bearing in mind he's on a standard BMW production bike against their tuned BMs.
Yep.
And put the fastest lap into the whole event.
Wow.
Just because they beat him up when he's trying to sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was good.
And then obviously from...
Gary Green was the second rider.
Gary,
Sadly, he passed away with cancer.
Yeah, Gary, yeah. So then obviously you retired in 75. Then you had your motorbike shop.
That's right, yeah.
Down in London, and you retired from there to the Isle of Man.
Yep.
Where you helped Bobby.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, 11 Manx wins, and you were there every time, and you know, you've taken out of racing, but also you've given back to racing.
Yeah.
And then you helped Jason Griffiths.
Yeah, that was
Freshly
good.
on the roads, and then obviously you're involved with Mark Parrott at the moment.
Yeah, the good thing with Jason, he's not hard to get to know, but he's different. You know, we used to get on quite good, and we had this saying at the start line. We'd look at each other and say, "Don't be scared."
Yeah.
And he could blast off. Wow.
Yeah. But also, you know, obviously I've been involved by sponsoring Jason, and I know that you you were mentoring him because you knew the circuits pretty well, where you used to say, right, just head for that corner, and so, you know, that was nice to see that you were mentoring where you were just giving some back to racing, and you still do.
Yeah, well, it's good, you know. Mark Parrott, we've out for a few years now, and it's his cheerfulness overrides anything else. You know, he's feeling a bit down, and his dad, his dad would always make a cup of tea. Yeah,
very much character. Well, thanks for coming into the studio today, Tom. And
it's a pleasure, really. It's nice. It's good to be able to remember all these as well.
Well, the thing is, you know, we're talking about history, and you know, as time goes on, people will sort of look at these small films and And
I'd like to just say one thing, which a friend of mine called John Ridley had a Gold Star engine, which he did quite a lot of work on it. Got some American stuff, and the Norton I had, I couldn't race it, so I had 6 months off trying to raise money, and I couldn't happen. So John came along and said, "Why don't you use my Gold Star engine?" So I said, "Well, yeah, okay." So I'll come over, and between the two of us, we fitted it into a Norton frame, just sawed the bottom down tube off completely, and kept it for welding it on later. And went down to Brands, and Derek Minter was riding Colin Seeley's latest G50, and we got tangled up and passing each other, and he came to the van after the session and said, "Really enjoyed that." He said, "It's good, it's getting me up to speed on this new bike." So he said we'd do the same again. So we went out, and he waited for me, and we was swapping places and overtaking and going pretty quick. Then the conrod broke and was just coming out of clearways, and I ended up past the start line, still somersaulting.
Again?
Oh dear me. Every time I hit the ground, my hands were aching. I thought, oh God. Anyway, Derek came over, and this is why I'd like to talk about it. I think it's quite amusing. Derek said, "Oh," he said, "what a bind." He said, "I was really enjoying that. What did you do? You know, you just worked it on too much." I said, "No, the conrods broke." He said, "Norton conrods don't break." I said, "But it's a Gold Star." He said, "Well, I had a 500 Gold Star for years, and they're bomb-proof." I said, "But it's a 350 Gold Star." He'd run away. He was so unhappy. But it was a good day.
Yeah, well, it's all history, Tom. History that people will look at, and
well, to get home from that, John had to steer and change gear while I drove the car or the van, because I couldn't use my arms. I could use my feet. So we drove all the way home. And things that happened in those days, you can't repeat them. No. A classic thing, coming back from Steddon, the clutch belt cable broke. So I thought, God damn it, this is going to be a nightmare. So we took the bonnet off the Thames van, transit van, put my helmet on, and got cushion, and sat on the engine and worked the throttle. No, it's the throttle cable that broke, and I operated the throttle from sitting on the outside. So it's sort of...
So who was driving?
Malcolm. he was 15.
And you were sitting inside the bonnets?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, it's a nice little story anyway.
Yeah, it's lovely stories, Tom. Lovely stories. But thanks for coming in, and
I enjoyed it.
We'll catch up with you again.
When do I get the start money?
Oh, I don't know about that.